What's up, everyone? It's your boy Grover back at it with the week analysis, and we have a big week ahead of us. Lots of earnings: Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, Meta, Alphabet, Coke, UPS, GM. There's so many big names that this week is going to be absolutely volatile, and I'm looking forward to it. Now, beginners, obviously, weeks like this, it's going to be a lot of big movement and you really want to conserve your capital. Risk management is going to be absolutely key going into this week. So the first thing I want to talk about is DXY. Last week we did see DXY kind of pulling back right at the end of the week. What I really like seeing here is this little W pattern forming. If I just draw that out, we saw this pull back, go back down, and tried to make a new high and it just couldn't. Okay, so we had 1, 2, 3 times where it tried to make a new high and it just couldn't. It's now pulling back. And I have marked out just at the bottom here the kind of target zone that I'm looking for this to go down to. It's just in between the 127 and the 168 fibs. Anyone that knows my trading style knows that I love fibs, and especially these W and M patterns. So DXY, that is kind of where I'm looking for it to see, fall down to before it gets this kind of next leg. Sorry about that, guys. All right, and the next thing, we saw USDJPY. This was a big one. We saw a lot of intervention coming from the Japanese, and with the yen, this was one of the biggest concerns. This candle looks a lot similar to this candle right here. You had kind of this little upwards momentum, and it started mopping up, and you had a similar candle. Now, looking into this, I am still concerned. I don't think the worst of it is over yet. You look at the volumes, we had a big volume spike here, we had a big volume spike here, and then now the next volume spike is right about here. I don't think we're quite out of the woods just yet, but, hopefully with the DXY forming the pattern it is and where I think it should be going to, we should start to see some rest here. Like I said, this was going exponential on the weekly chart. And, we definitely want to see some pullbacks, hopefully down to where the previous supply was. So now at this demand level. One thing that we also looked at was, actually I need to go further out on the monthly chart. We are at critical supply from before, right? 1, 2, 3. So this area shouldn't be as easy to get through. Hopefully we'll see that stand true and we can see where this goes. Now, what I did want to talk about this week, let's start off with Apple and what I think could happen for Apple. All right, so like I said, we do have earnings into this week, and we are seeing kind of this bounce formation forming. We have the 200 up above on the daily, and honestly, the 200 is at a very good spot. I think Apple definitely has a lot of room. We have key levels right here. I don't know why that. There we go. It's good because that came right up to where the 200 was. But we have this level that I'm looking to target. It's roughly about 150 to 153 if we get positive earnings. And then obviously, if we don't see earnings meet expectations, this has a lot more room down, all the way down to about 138 or even lower. So that's kind of what I'm expecting for Apple. This is going to be one of the key earnings for this week, especially for the market. Apple, as you know, is the largest part of the Qs and the SPY, and it's going to be a big decision maker. The next one I want to look at is Amazon. So Amazon is the next big one to look out for, and on the upside, targets are kind of right around there. This is the 121 to 123 range. If we do break that, we have a nice little gap above all the way up to about 126. That would kind of be the upper levels that I'd be looking to target. If it is even able to break that, then we have this kind of supply right about 131 that I'd be looking to target. So that's kind of the 3 levels if we are to get to the upside. Obviously we have the 200 on the daily at 132, and that is a lot of upside potential that it does have. Now, if earnings tend to be very bad, I would be looking at easily about downside potential wise, we're looking at about 106, 107, and it could even get uglier, and we could go right down to this level here, which I definitely don't want to see. Not yet, at least. So definitely has lots of upside potential here. Again, no bias yet. I'm just giving, target zones of where I think it can go to on both the upside and the downside. So these are the levels to look out for on the upside and the downside. And that is it for Amzn. Let's take a look at Meta. Okay. You got to keep in mind, guys, this is also very, especially like AMD, for example, before I go on to Meta, we are at a lot of good points for longer term entry ads, right? Look at Meta. It is already sitting at those COVID highs, okay? We are at a very, very good level. If you want to buy in for long-term portfolio, this is a very good area. Sure, it could go lower, but again, long-term investors think very, very differently. If we break this, your next ads are going to be here around this 38 all the way down to 34 level, right? So these are your kind of swing lows. And if this breaks even below this 33 level, I would be very, very scared for the market. But AMD, NVIDIA, both these companies, are extremely, extremely strong and have a lot of long-term potential. This isn't any Meta, guys. Meta may not have as much potential. It's a very strong company, don't get me wrong, but I personally am not a fan in what they do and what they want to accomplish, and especially in the advertising space, there's a lot of challenges coming forth with everything going cookieless. Keeping in mind, I am in digital marketing, so I'm not too keen on advertising space right now. I think there's a lot of challenges that they're going to be facing, especially with Meta right now. Facebook is struggling severely with the cookieless world and how Apple has implemented these new privacy settings. It's really impacted their advertising a lot. So it's not a space that I would want to jump into just yet. But, Alphabet, Google, all of these different companies are still extremely strong, and, you can start to buy in. Long term for Google, I would even expect it to go down to maybe about 86, if not 76. I don't want to see those levels, but if it gets there, definitely those are the next ads. That being said, I do think it's at a very good ad spot right now too. Look at it; it's held so well on the weekly. It's trying to hold up this weekly 200 EMA with a 200 SMA right below it at 93. So it is looking extremely good, guys. Long-term ads, you can definitely start adding to your position. You want to scale in to your long-term position. I'm not saying go all in. Please do not go all in on any one of these stocks. But definitely you can start adding smaller position sizes because you don't know when the market's going to flip, right? Sure, conditions may not be good right now, but tomorrow there could be a reverse of the flip, and then all of a sudden, market goes full bullish, and everyone starts loading their money in. And when that happens, it's going to be too late to get these ads. So definitely, you want to scale into your ads. Look for those larger support levels where you can start adding to your long-term portfolios. And remember, do not go all in. I'm talking about just start buying some. Put in a little bit of money aside. But yeah. Anyways, very off topic. I went from day trading all the way to investing side. But let's go back to day trading, guys. All right, so Google. Let's take a look at this on the smaller time frame. I definitely want to see Google hit on positive earnings at least about 106, upside 111. I definitely think that's possible. Whether or not that's going to happen, we're yet to see that. But definitely, if we're able to clear this 103 level, we have a lot of room, at least to about 105.96. So I definitely think Google has a lot more room on the upside if things were to go very, very well. Downside, obviously, we're still looking at the lows, 95.27. And yeah, if it breaks below that, we've got quite some room down, maybe to even about 92.41. All right, let's take a look at Microsoft. Microsoft has been absolutely rip recently. it has just been absolutely crazy. I'm going to go back to the daily for this one. We definitely have some supply up here that, you know, we can target on the upside around 250. Very big psych level as well. Very possible on earnings, on positive earnings. Downside, obviously, we're still looking at kind of that level right there. We have this demand right here, which it tried to hold just before it dipped down to this guy. So these are the kind of levels that I'm looking at. Downside, you've got 232, 224, and 220. On the upside, I would definitely be targeting this 250. And if we get a massive market rip, we definitely have some room all the way up to about 258. Just looking at this guy right here. That is not what I'm talking about. There we go. So this 258 to 260 zone would be the next area I'd be looking at. All right, so that's Microsoft. Let's talk about the market. QQQ, NQ, ES. I'm going to start with ES. I have some levels drawn out already, but definitely got a fabulous bounce. Fabulous. Okay. Absolutely amazing bounce this past Friday. And as you can see, we're still kind of rejecting off of that supply right around 37.75. And we haven't quite broken through yet. So the two scenarios that I'm expecting is we pull back, we test out, you know, the lower levels a little bit more, maybe even this 37.25, just where the 20 EMA is, and then we get the next rip, which I am expecting to be to about 38.80, but at the minimum 38.20. So 38.20 is like the minimum. If we are able to get like a bigger bounce, I want to see it go up to about that 38.80. Before we even think of a next leg down. That is what I'm looking for. To draw that out for you, I'm looking for something like that. Now, whether or not that happens, you know, hold me accountable, guys. This is just my thought process. This is my thesis. This is what I want to see. We all know the markets is never going to give us exactly what we want. You know, we could see something like this. We could see something like this. Or we could see something like this. But this is essentially what I'm expecting. You know, a series of higher lows, higher highs, all the way up to this about 38.80 level before we see the next leg down. And that's, again, market conditions can change at all times. This is my thesis today. My thesis can very well change next week. It can change tomorrow. It can change overnight. We don't know, right? But as of the market conditions that I'm seeing in front of me right now, this is kind of my expectation. Just kind of targeting this breakdown zone just before we go down. That is what I'm thinking. So right now, things are all looking good. But again, remember, guys, it's earnings. Anything can happen. Right? Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, Meta, Alphabet. Any one of these companies can come out with an extremely bad number, you know, and it could just completely tank everything. But what I am hearing, and this is not my forte, guys, I don't play earnings, but from what I'm hearing is a lot of these estimates are extremely, extremely low, and we should most likely not have many issues with any of them. Now, I do want to talk about Netflix. Netflix has entered that gap zone, right? Obviously, the top of that gap is roughly around 330, but we are seeing it just kind of being pinned under the 200 EMAs, right? The 200 SMA and the 200 EMAs just kind of being pinned. You can see we started to get some resistance, broke through. We're now at the next level. So we have some room up, but we may also get some consolidation or a pullback before we can see that gap close, or we may never even see that gap close, right? You got to remember the market expects, like, look at this gap was left open, right? The market expects for the gap to close, but sometimes it's not going to give it to us, and you've just got to be able to accept that, play the price action in front of you. All right, NQ. And this is probably going to be the last one I'm talking about today. NQ looks absolutely fantastic. We still haven't reached the top of that zone. For NQ, I'm still expecting 11,600 to about 11,650, right? So that's still my overall range. And the main thing that we're going to be seeing is whether or not this range plays out and we start to see some sideways action within here, or If we do get a breakout to the upside, I am looking at roughly around this area that I want to target. It's just around the $12,000 cycle level. So that would be a fantastic bounce for it to get to about that $12,000 cycle level before it rejects. So that's kind of the upper side. But as for right now, short-term targets, 585 to about that 670. So aiming for just around here before we start to see maybe some sideways movement. If we do get upside, looking at that guy there. Obviously, on the downside, we have massive, support here as of right now. Whether this holds, that we're yet to see. So that is all I have for today, guys. It is a fantastic Sunday. I hope you guys all enjoyed your weekend, and I will catch you in the markets this week. And till then, deuces.